A 341-year-old church was built in a place perched at the edge of heaven, Aparri. It is located in the northern part of Cagayan. It serves as a home to people of all walks of life who are searching for peace and help to God. This is Parokia San Telmo of Archdiocese of Tuguegarao, taking you to glimpse the experiences and unfolding the success stories of the faithful.
Greetings in the name of the Lord. I'm Angelita Wandasan Usal, a businesswoman, an instructor of the Lyceum of Aparri, from the College of Engineering, and a member of the Parish Finance Council of San Pedro Telmo Parish in Aparri, Cagayan. Aparri, which is located at the northernmost tip of the Philippines. Remember the Itbulaga song, Mula Aparri hanggang Holo, is one of the oldest parishes in Cagayan, established in the year 1680 by the Dominicans. Aparri can be characterized as both rural and urban, or we call it urban because the setting in the centro or town proper with the 5 adjacent barangays is densely populated, while the remaining 6 barangays is a farming community. Aparri is a first-class coastal municipality dependent on fishing and agriculture for its economy. What is worth mentioning, moreover, is the Catholic faith of our community. Our families are deeply religious and pious. We have a well-known devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, whom we can run to for protection and care, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hi, I'm Pachi Abad, a former banker, a certified public accountant, and now a cashier for the Cagayan State University, and a member of the Parish Finance Council. The COVID-19 pandemic that has affected the whole world, including the restrictions and protocols implemented, has also affected the parish church. The first couple of months was a challenge to the parish financially because all our church activities were stopped. Where do we get support for the operating expenses of the parish, the salaries of the staff, and the bills that we need to pay? What about the pastoral programs that must go on to keep the faith alive? How can we sustain church activities during these difficult times? How can we help those who were greatly affected by the pandemic, especially the poor?
Hi, I'm Lourdes Romero, a banker and a member of the Parish Finance Council. Parokia San Telmo in Aparri, Cagayan is composed of 11 barangays, with each barangay having its own coordinator. In 2017, the parish conducted home visitation for awareness raising on BEC as Purukgimong Zone or Sitio and spotting of potential leaders. To date, we have 72 BEC Purukgimong with our own BEC workers. The 11 barangays of Aparri are grouped into 4 clusters, better organizing and distribution of tasks, especially when we have big events in the parish. The BEC Purukgimong or cluster of Puruks have their own workforce in consonance with the pastoral programs of the parish. There is worship ministry which we call Mapagtalkan Panagdaydayaw or Stewards of Worship, education ministry which we call Mapagtalkan Panagainadal or Stewards of Formation, social action ministry which we call Mapagtalkan Pinagsisinnerbi or Stewards of Service, and the Mapagtalkan Wagas Financial or Stewards of Finance. Trainings and seminars are regularly given to the different ministries of the parish, and they renew their promises and commitment in serving the church every year. In fact, the parish is gifted with 55 lay ministers, 129 lectors and commentators, and 90 gift ministers. The dedication, perseverance, and commitment of the BEC workers in sharing their time, talent, and treasure to implement the ongoing pastoral programs and activities help the parish to reach out to families in the small communities, the unchurched, and the poor in spirit. In March 15, 2020, when the lockdown was declared due to the pandemic and while the nation was under the enhanced community quarantine, the doors of the church were closed to the public. Just like any other parishes in the Philippines, all our activities, even on the BDC Purok Gimong, were put on hold. There were so many restrictions, and the people have to follow the safety protocols of the IAPF. Nurturing God's gifts. Thanks to advanced technology, the parish church continued its mission through the celebration of the daily Mass and Sunday Mass via live streaming. Our Holy Week celebration were beamed via live streaming. In some BEC Purok Gimong who do not have internet, the BEC workers distributed modules to be used for the celebration of the Paschal Triduum in the homes. We call it Rambak Triduo Pascual Itibukod the Pagtaingan. In the celebration of our annual town fiesta in 2020, the church gradually opened her door to the parishioners, following strict COVID protocols like 10% capacity, physical distancing, temperature check, hand sanitation, and no face mask, no face shield entry policy with a contact tracing registry. Meetings were held for BC workers and coordinators on how we will go back to our usual ways of doing Purok Gimong activities. Like a good steward, we need to nurture and cultivate the gifts we have. The parish then prepared modules to educate the families about COVID-19 and the health protocols to follow, as well as the pastoral programs to implement. They were all distributed to the families in the barangay. The pandemic has closed our parish church, but not the domestic church, the church in the home. I quote from the Most Reverend Rick Bakay, D.D., Archbishop of Tuguegarao, say, "We, as a local church, must work closely together to make the family truly a domestic church." With our strong faith in God and our commitment to serve, we started to go back to the Purok and conduct a regular swap or Sunday worship in the absence of a priest, always putting in mind the safety protocols of our trust in the Lord. We were able to slowly overcome our fear of COVID. We knew then that COVID is here to stay, and we have to deal with it and live with it. We conducted Purok activities one after the other. We went from house to house to distribute family prayer guide booklets in English, Ilocano, and also Ibanag. The prayer booklet will accompany the family in their daily prayer and eventually to make prayer as integral part of their daily lives. Our children in the community were not left behind. They were given family-based catechism by giving them coloring booklets. We asked the parents to guide their children, and these moments became a bonding time for the parent and the child. The catalects were distributed weekly from Aralin 1 to 15 in the form of short stories and parables in the Bible. At the end of the story, there is a box where they will write their learnings. The stewards of education or our BC workers made sure that catechism has to continue despite the pandemic. The month of October is one of the most awaited in the parish because Aparrianos are known to be faithful devotees of Our Lady of the Holy Rosary. Instead of having the daily rosary in the barangays, the BEC workers introduced it in the Purok. It has been the tradition of the Aparrianos to give their daily love offerings for 31 days in honor of Mama Mary. A family is assigned to lead the community in praying the Holy Rosary every 6 p.m. Daily reflections are also being read by the lay minister. Even if the pandemic was raging, Prayer and worship for God has to be cultivated and nurtured by the community. In celebrating All Souls Day and All Saints Day, families in the Purok are given leaflets for their prayers for the dead and with Bible readings and prayers of the faithful. Masses were also celebrated in the church and in the public cemeteries. Celebration of Christ the King was done in the parish grounds. Procession was within the parish grounds. Each cluster was given booths to decorate with the altar of the Blessed Sacrament. In the month of December, our BEC workers were challenged on how to come up with the first Holy Communion of the grade 4 learners. Again, we implemented this per Purok. Since we deal with minors, we have to ask permission from their parents. Catechism was done in the barangay hall. Parents were very cooperative despite threat of COVID. The traditional Dawn Mass was celebrated in the church with live streaming. Likewise, in the BEC Purok Gimong, we conducted a 9-day clap, our Christmas liturgy in the absence of a priest, which was administered by our lay ministers. This was done in the afternoon to give way to parishioners who cannot attend the Misa de Gallo. We celebrated Christmas with no parties and less food on the table, but with high hopes that the pandemic will end soon. Yes, we were not spared from the COVID virus. Some BEC workers were infected, others were hospitalized, others had a near-death experience, and unfortunately, there were BEC workers in the parish who did not survive COVID. At some point, COVID-19 stopped us from things we wanted and loved to do. Families were separated due to work and were afraid they might not see their families back home. Others lost their jobs, businesses were closed. Maybe it's God's way of saying to us, "Give me your time, talent, and treasure." As a good and faithful steward, we all rose to the challenges of the pandemic. Prayers are our best weapon to face the greatest challenges of COVID-19. We all believe God answers prayer.
Parokia San Telmo is a parish where the faithful are endowed with generosity and support. Our strong faith in God helps us through this pandemic. Even when restrictions are there, the parish continuously advocated support for the church. We were confident that our savings, the result of financial planning and prudent spending for the past years, will help us through.
The funds of the parish were set up based on needs and purpose. First, the parish operating fund. This fund is intended for the daily operations of the parish. Receipts from the regular sources, such as mass intentions, stall fees, and other income. They only slightly decreased during the pandemic. In fact, the pandemic gave us the opportunity to end the arancel because the faithful were suffering, so we did not want to put greater burden. Despite this, the parish was able to manage its fund by operating within the budget and identifying its priorities. Second, sagot ti Apo or gifts of God. Parishioners remained to be good stewards of God's gift during the pandemic. They were loyal to their stewardship envelopes. The Sagot ti Apo offerings of 856,165 pesos and 671,573 in 2020 and 2021 respectively support the pastoral programs of the parish during the pandemic, like giving Bibles to all the families in the Purok, modules for the Holy Week in the homes, family catechism in the home, swap, clap, and novena in the homes. Black Rosary Fund. For the whole month of October, the parishioners of San Telmo pray the Rosary in the different zones. Despite the pandemic, the generosity of the Parianos were once again proven through their love offerings. From the 2,245,760 pesos in 2019, Offerings have increased to 2,841,747 pesos in 2020 and 2,777,823 pesos in 2021. The Black Rosary Fund is for the capital expenditures of the parish. We made sure that this fund is properly utilized for the maintenance of all our buildings and is now manifested in the new look of the church. Fourth, Pandemic Fund. This fund was sourced from offerings in the Sunday worship in the absence of a priest or the swap, conducted in the different zones or puroks during the pandemic. Offerings from swap reached 503,343 pesos. The amount was used to support the free antigen testing of lay leaders, BEC workers, and parishioners, lifeline food packs, purchase of oxygen tanks, and other activities to help those affected by the COVID-19 virus. Fifth, Rehabilitation Fund. During the pandemic, outpouring of support in the form of donations of parishioners from Aparri as well as from outside parishes was felt. Part of the fund came from the Christmas liturgy in the absence of a priest, or the clap, conducted in the 72 zones or puroks. With this fund, we were able to give relief goods to other parishes. By the end of 2021, the fund balance is 1 million pesos. We are utilizing this fund to build San Telmo Village. As of today, 9 of the 10 units are under construction and will be awarded to our brothers and sisters who most need shelter. The parish adheres and believes in the importance of being transparent in financial matters at all times. The parish achieves this by having a working computerized accounting system and by regularly presenting financial reports, because we, the members of the Finance Council of Parokia San Telmo, together with our parish priest, Father Manny, believe that the people deserves to know the extent of the support accorded to the Church and where the sources are to be given and served. Even if everyone is affected by the pandemic, the love for the Church is so much manifested by the generosity of the people. We all keep our faith together.
I am Father Manny Catral and I am the parish priest of San Pedro Telmo Parish here in Aparri, Cagayan. So, what did we learn from our pandemic experience? First, small is beautiful. Even before the pandemic, since 2017, the parish comprising of 11 barangays was already organized into 72 BEC Purok Gimong communities, comprising of 40 to 100 families each community with their own set of lay leaders we call BEC workers. The BEC workers minister to the families in the Purok by organizing worship activities, education, and social service activities. They are also the promoters of stewardship by encouraging the families in the Purok to participate by giving their tithes to the stewardship envelopes we call Sagot Ti Apu, or gift of God. The force behind the stability of the stewardship program is the commitment of our lay leaders. This is the second thing that we learned. They are the backbone of all the pastoral programs of the parish. They continuously share their time, their talent, and treasure to cultivate the faith of the families in the Purok. And this is where the stewardship spirituality is very important. Stewardship was introduced in the parish in 2009, but continuous education and integrating the values of stewardship into our pastoral programs cemented the practice. This is the secret. We did not put up a separate commission or organization for stewardship. Rather, we integrated the spirituality of stewardship into our liturgies, our recollections, our retreats, our financial management. Stewardship is a spirituality and not just another task or a group in the parish. Stewardship, in our understanding, is the mission of discipleship. It is the mission of evangelization. That's why we continuously bring it up in our meetings, in our parish exchanges, and in our parish life. Third, stewardship as a pastoral program makes sure that the trust of the parish is to cultivate the faith of the families in the BEC or Purok Gimong, and not simply fundraising. Integrating stewardship in the life of the parish allows more parishioners to participate in helping the parish, thereby assuring their dignity and rights as members of the church, and not simply passive, helpless, and dependent onlookers. With stewardship, the faithful knows that there is equality in availing the sacraments. So giving is not done once in a while or when there is spare, but rather an important component of discipleship or following Jesus in mission. Pastoral programs implemented inspires the practice or the habit of giving. So when stewardship becomes the system of the parish, participation and consciousness about the church will grow dramatically. Evangelization becomes the mission of all. Transparency and accountability becomes the guiding principle, and giving becomes the norm. This is what we would like to call stewardship as a way of life of the families in the basic ecclesial communities of the parish of San Pedro Telmo here in Aparri, Cagayan. Thank you for listening to our stories. These are testimonies of what happened to us during the pandemic, and we would like to share it to you because we truly believe that stewardship is indeed a way of life.